Alright, so reassembly is going to be done in reverse order. So let's start off by putting our anchor screw back in that goes underneath this metal board here. Put the board back down, or the metal shield back down. See the two holes there it'll line up with. And this also has some guide holes. See there, it'll line up with that. And then you'll want to feed your wire in right here. There's a slot in between these two metal portions here. There's a slot in the plastic. Feed your wire through that. And you can just leave it off to the side for now. Go ahead and find your 4 smaller screws. And this is where you want to be careful not to over torque anything, because you will damage the plastic. So I find it best just to leave if you're using an electric screwdriver, just hold it lightly. That way, once it gets to that point where it's torqued in enough, the screwdriver will just kind of spin in your hand rather than continue to drive the screw. You want to get your 2 metal clips in. The one with the square goes over top of the square there. This one, other side, the 2 prongs will clip over top right there. Your anchors need to go back. If you see there's the slots, just line up with the slots, 1 on either side. Pretty simple. Then you're ready for this lower shield to go back in. It just goes on top there. Remember, so you still have access to the power supply. Take 2 of your common screws. Sometimes these have 4 screws in them. Sometimes you'll have an extra screw right there and right there. Next, your motherboard goes in. This is the part that clips into the power supply. So this is the front of the GameCube where the memory card slots are. All you gotta do is line it up and just kind of lightly push it down and you'll hear it clip. Then you've got those 6 screws with the washer. Alright, next, if you have detached your laser from its shield, you'll need to reinstall that. Pretty simple. The connector goes there within that hole, and it goes on top. Remember, it's got those couple guide sections there, and you've got the 6 small screws that you'll need to reinstall. These are the smallest screws in the whole GameCube. If you skipped this step and decided not to separate the shield from the laser, you can just prepare to pop this back on top of the heat shield or the motherboard. Alright, it's installed now. Again, the front of the GameCube here. Let me go ahead and reinstall. Well, here. All you gotta do is put this down on top and just press down. It fits perfectly in terms of it's got the two raised sections there where your outputs fit nicely. All you gotta do is push it down. You'll hear it click. One screw for the door switch. Then you're ready to go back and start installing the perimeter of this thing. You can either start up front or the sides, whatever. The only thing that you need to be aware of is that these 3 screws and this one here in the back are all covered by your fan assembly. So you'll need to make sure that you put those in before you try to put your fan back in. So if it helps, just go ahead and reinstall these 4 right off the top. And it's the common screws. This is where you could strip plastic if you're using an electric. So if you're unsure, just use a screwdriver. Alright, now you can put this fan assembly back in. This notch here fits underneath of the laser. There's a notch here, and there are a couple posts, 3 posts under here in the laser. It goes in the middle post, and again, you remember how the notch right here where you had to kind of dislodge it during disassembly will clip into this hole right here. So it just kind of slides in. Make sure that your wire is fed up underneath this clip here. You see there's a notch within the fan assembly where this wire seats. So just if it fell out during disassembly, go ahead and reinstall that to where it's snug up into there, and it'll hold because of that clip. And then it's got 2 more screws that hold the fan down. Okay, I'll go ahead and do the memory card section here. Remember, these are the long screws. They're unique to this section here. Got 5 common screws on this side. I find it easier sometimes just to go ahead and get them initially started. Sometimes they'll pop out as you're working down the line, but you know, it helps me. And you got 3 more here on the back. Same thing, common screws. Okay, now you're ready for the front and the back cover. If you took off your port here, go ahead and put the 2 screws back in. Those are the common screws. I find it easiest to go ahead and kind of rock this portion here in to the bottom, and then before you actually push it up and clip it, remember you gotta put the actual ribbon cable back in place. Here on the motherboard is where it's received. You just gotta push that down. The metal portion here is gonna face that direction, so you'll have the actual slick part on the back side. It's pretty easy. Just angle it in and then push it down. Okay, and it seats pretty obviously. You'll know when it does. And it's got that fold in it. That way, once you do collapse this part and re-clip it, it'll fold in nicely. So here's those 2 clips on the other side. Carefully just push those in and it'll grasp onto those 2 posts here. So you'll want to make sure that it's all lined up in terms of feeding the memory card readers into the faceplate. Back side, just as easy. 2 clips. And then again, this is where you need to be careful and mindful of the door switch. So go ahead and open your GameCube door and then line up the front, how it'll slide in here on top of this faceplate. Same in the back, it slides in nicely. Once you're satisfied that it's dropped down low enough, you can go ahead and close the door. Hold your GameCube together so it doesn't separate, because you got to flip it back over. And drop your anchor screws in these holes. Get your GameCube bit back out. I like to start up front and then kind of work diagonally. I want it to get snug here in the front first, just because that's the face of the GameCube. So I like it snugging nicely there up front. And then if you've ever worked on a car, you know that kind of a crisscross bolting pattern is the best way to actually secure something. And so instead of doing both here and then work in the back, I like to go corner to corner. You could even jump up front here if you wanted to after that, but I think it just fastens everything a little bit better. And that completes a teardown and reassembly of a GameCube. You can function test everything, make sure that it's all back secured properly, and there you have it.